everybody. Welcome to Pod Casty For Me, the podcast about film, culture, politics, and Clint Eastwood, where we have watched every film directed by and or starring American filmmaker Clint Eastwood and explored how they speak to their moment in this one, at least so far. The show's hosted by two guys. I'm one of the guys. My name is Jake Serwin.
I'm one of the guys. My name is Ian Ryan. That got me, man. Stuck it in there. Nice touch.
Yeah, you know, the listening to the song, the theme song, which so often I'm like, I wish I had done this. I wish I had done that. I don't like the song. Now I'm like, damn, we're, not gonna, we of course will hear this theme song again, but it will be a bit.
Yeah. Yep.
When I play it to fuck with you. This is our Clintclusions episode. This is we're wrapping up at least part one of season one. Obviously, Clint has a few more films in him, probably, 6 to 10.
Yep. Easy.
But yeah, we're going to kind of talk about what we've learned. Let's put it in corporate speak. Learnings.
Oh, no.
I can't think of any others.
Growth moments, future potentials.
Pain points.
Yeah. Yep.
Opportunities for growth, and maybe there will be some layoffs, some downsizing. No, that's a different guy. Guy directed that movie.
That's true.
Starring, though, what's freaking
Mr. Invictus.
Mr. Invictus and Mr. Hereafter as well.
Yep.
Anyway, let's get into the show today. It's Clintclusions. You've read the title.
Me, I have, definitely. Listener, maybe.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I think this is the inevitable feeling of anybody leaving a period of their life, if I can put so much stink on this, because I don't know if we did everything we wanted to do, but we did.
I know for a fact that we didn't.
Yeah, me too. You're right. But we did what we did, which I think is kind of how we have addressed a lot of Clint films. Not so much like, did they always do what they want, but that they did. They are definitely what they are, undeniably.
To quote a woman who, whatever. We said what the fuck we said. To quote somebody I heard online once.
Cool, yeah.
And can't take it back. Can't unfire that bullet from the 357 Magnum of discourse. The discursive Magnum.
Famous.
Often when you've discursed Magnums, it's a woman saying, "You're kidding, right?"
Yeah. Yeah. What are you going to fill the rest with? Like packing peanuts.
You get a drink out of that? Packing peanuts. Me putting on my boxer shorts. Exactly. I don't wear them.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into the two questions. We got to do our normal thing is of course, our famous segment to get to know each other. We will, at some point, achieve that. By the way, I wanted to show I'm wearing the hat.
Thank you. That's so nice.
It is. It's a nice hat. It fits me well, and it makes me feel like a man of the people. Ian got me a hat from the baseball team, the Oaxaca Guerreros, which is weird, as he pointed out. And I immediately knew what he meant, because the next state over is called Guerrero.
Yeah, the California Texans. Yeah,
it would have been funny if it was the Oaxaca Chihuahuas.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that's also like a type of little guy. My famous podcast girlfriend has discovered, I don't want to blow up her spot, but she's discovered, I'll tell you off pod.
Okay, all right.
She's discovered an Instagram Chihuahua who is maybe one of the top dogs of all time.
Oh, yeah.
I got to show you this dog. Incredible dog. Speaking of pets, my two questions for you. Now, you grew up in a house filled with boys.
That's right.
Did you have any reptile or rodent pets in the home?
Yeah, we had a hamster. I can't fathom how you arrived at this question. We had a hamster.
Oh, easy. I've been watching a bunch of videos of reptiles shedding.
Oh, okay. All right.
It sort of falls into the satisfying category of videos, especially when you're watching leopard gecko.
Oh.
You ever seen a leopard gecko shed?
Haven't.
Because they consume the skin because it's got lots of nutrients or whatever, and they do a thing where they will, so like the little arm will shed, for example, and they'll bite the shed sort of on the leopard gecko's forearm.
Okay.
He'll bite his own shed and then pull it off, and it's like peeling off a glove. Whoa, and there's a little inside out hand.
Wow, incredible.
And then he eats it.
I love this.
They're so beautiful. And also sometimes when you have like an iguana or whatever, or a bearded dragon, you have to help it with the shed from the inside of the nostril.
Ooh.
And so you take a little tweezer and you pull like a little perfect nostril out.
Okay.
I'll send you some stuff.
Please send me more vids.
And then sometimes somebody will say, they'll think, well, this guy's watching a cute little gecko biting his finger.
What else must he
He wants to see botfly videos. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't want to see any botfly videos.
Yeah. Well, you love to see one botfly video, Cronenberg's.
Now,
if you purchased this.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I like that.
Okay.
I like that. That's good.
Thanks.
Okay, go ahead.
My mom had a absolutely strict no reptiles policy. We had basically every other type of pet. Like I said, hamster.
Was it for any particular purpose? Stink?
Yeah, there's too much
Turtle
already.
Tank smell?
I think she wasn't that fond of them. Didn't want them getting loose. Didn't want us to have to be feeding them live stuff all the time. I think she found that
that's
disturbing.
A great point. Yeah.
My most frequent contact now is I've lived in places with iguanas and also little geckos that they call choo-choos here. And
choo-choos?
Yeah.
That's cute.
Because they make
That's wrong.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I'll tell them.
That's trains. Yeah.
They make a little noise. And our cats love to chase them, which is of great concern to me because they're so cute. But Tita, because of her different abilities that she has.
Tita has one eye for the listener.
She has a hard time hunting. So when she sees one up the wall, I will lift up her back legs so she can scale the wall, do like a little Running Man thing up the wall.
Yeah.
Not to help her get it, just to help her sort of like be on the hunt for a few seconds.
Yeah. I tried to help my cat Larry get to a gnat that was too high up the wall, but he didn't like how I was helping him. So he just looked at it from closer up, but he didn't hunt it.
That happens.
So hamster... No lizards. Any rabbits? Guinea pig?
Yeah, we had a series of 3 rabbits. One of them was massacred by raccoons. Pretty awful.
Oh yeah, like my chickens.
Oh, and that's pretty much that category. What about you? What did you have?
We never had a lizard. I had, if you can believe it, I had some experience with reptile pets due to my several rat-tailed friends in Northern Virginia.
Yeah,
strong correlation. No, we had hamsters, we had mice, we had guinea pigs at various points. I believe one of my guinea pigs was named Blackjack because he was black. And this part of the question was inspired by my girlfriend's become very interested in watching videos of guinea pigs on YouTube because they're very cute. And some of them have long, beautiful hair like a lady.
Yes, their long hair is, it's like a Highland coo.
I don't think you know how long some of the hair is.
You're probably right.
Yeah. Some of them look like little wigs walking around. But we had some guinea pigs. Very annoying noise that they make. They're so cute, but the sound is difficult. And then, of course, my friend Zach had some snakes, and his father would breed mice in the basement to feed to the snakes.
Infinite food cheat.
Yeah, but it really illustrates just how dependent the status of pet is.
It's true.
Because he's making pets to feed to a pet, but they're not pets. And also, I could tell, even as like a 10-year-old who was going over there to play Super Smash Brothers, that when there were, 20 mice in the mice enclosure, you don't feel as bad as when there's like 3. There's something about the multitude where you're able to kind of harden your heart.
You become a tyrant with the swarms, the masses. You don't see them as individuals.
Yeah. Sub 2 question.
Okay, tell me.
The opening of you just reminded me of this. The opening of the Black Sabbath song War Pigs, where he says, generals gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses.
Very frustrating.
Yeah. Lazy.
Yes. Just to make you mad before the song really gets going.
Yeah. Good song otherwise.
You reminded me.
I recently saw a T-Pain cover of that song. Anyway, keep going.
What? Really?
Nope.
Okay.
Moving on.
All right. You reminded me, I would feel bad if I didn't shout out my own friend and roommate in college, Zach, who also had a snake. He had a little ball python named Bumblebee that was adorable.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Wait, I met this guy, right?
I think you definitely have. Yeah.
This is the place that also had like a Russian blue cat?
No, that was a different apartment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Almost everyone in that apartment looked like their name could be Zach.
You're right.
No offense to any of them.
Were.
Even the women.
Yep. Sure.
It's, it's the 21st century. Women can be named Zach if they want to. Anyway, that's my 2 question. Thank you for answering.
You're so welcome. I feel a little embarrassed because I brought a serious. I thought we were gonna do heavy hitting questions. So
yeah, go for it. It's a good thing I did my stupid one first.
Yeah, I have had this question for a while, and I was wondering what you thought about it. What
I will marry you. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. 1,000 times. Yes.
Yeah. So, what shirt do you think Homer Simpson is wearing today?
The pink one from the episode
wow.
where Bart's lucky red hat gets
in the wash,
yes, with his white polo shirts. Mm-hmm. I do have a follow-up question for you. You've always assumed that this is the classic, what is that material called? Peak polo shirt, the kind of weird coarse waffled polo,
yeah, I know
or
this.
Is this
never knew this word? This is a new vocabulary word for me.
Cotton polo.
What if it's one of those athleisure performance polos?
Oh God! Like you're assuming that the power plant gave it to him. That's the kind of shirt that you get from your employer.
Yeah, or like a golf event or something.
I hope not. I mean, my opinion of Homer Simpson couldn't get any lower. The man's a
buffoon.
Man's a real buffoon. Yeah, he's an oaf.
I
think it's probably the classic polo. I think
you're right.
Peter Griffin's is the other kind, the athleisure sweat wicking polo.
Okay. Is Peter Griffin's not a button-up shirt?
Oh, wait. It is a button-up shirt. You're right. And
you believe this button-up shirt to be a athleisure polo?
Well, I have a picture of Peter Griffin to share with you. Hold on a second.
Okay.
This is the guy you're talking about?
I'm so afraid of.
It's like a really weird, realistic Peter Griffin.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. That someone is drawn on some kind of program.
Yes, it is in some type of program. That's for sure.
Should be a recovery program. Not sure which one.
Yep.
But anyway, what do you think shirt he wearing today?
I think the normal one. He basically, he a lot of the times he's wearing the same shirt.
He is, yeah. He's got, I mean, that makes it easy.
Yeah, Jason Mantzoukas style. Who learned from
Jason
whom?
Mantzoukas style.
Mr. Bean.
Yeah, Rocco, Mr. Bean, Prisoners.
Yeah. You don't often see a fashion-forward prisoner doing something like really just different clothes.
Well, you used to.
Yeah.
In movies from a different time, like in Escape from Alcatraz, for example, or in The Jericho Mile, the Michael Mann TV movie. I don't know if you've seen that. Great early work by Michael Mann. There's a lot of guys innovating, mixing it up, sort of school uniform style with the prison supplied clothing. You like that they're in prison. You fucking piece of shit.
Yep.
Bad guy. Let's see. It's me blowing your head off. That's been the 2 questions. Real quick, want to shout out our Patreon. That's one of the many changes that has befallen us since starting the podcast. Yeah. We have a Patreon now where we will never stop talking about Clint Eastwood. We might, I guess, insert some ephemera for related to future subjects of the show, but I think we're going to keep the Clint train rolling on there. Who knows? We might go through his filmography
right, eventually.
All the way over again. We
did the classic drug dealer thing of giving 130 hours of free content about the main things people would be interested in. And then we said like, we also have some leftover. You want to pay for that? Is that of any interest to you?
Well, look, I'm going to push back on that because, first of all, patreon.com/Pod Casty For Me. It's called Paid Costly For Me. It's very funny that we did that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to push back because we made a very strange decision to start at an arbitrary point close to the beginning.
Yeah, we accidentally seemed much less insane. Maybe not an accident. Maybe
savvier.
Yeah, we have some of the big gems, the big hits.
Yeah, we're a lot like one of those technically free mobile games. There's big gems that you have to pay to unlock in order to really have any kind of fun. All right, so patreon.com/Pod Casty For Me. We will never let you down.
No, they're good.
That's for damn sure.
I think because we're off the leash on the podcast, the paid podcast, we can just kind of take audience suggestions, watch really, really loosely connected films. So I don't know. I think there's unique material on there. For example, our recent
sure is unique material
travelogue episode. If you're going to subscribe to the podcast, do it for that at the very least.
Yeah, the travelogue episode in which I lose my mind. Ian gets disastrously sick.
Uh-huh.
It's a real Sherman's March.
Yeah, that's
the
right.
documentary, not the march of an episode. Well, that's been that. Next, I have a little segment for you. Now, we've had a ton of wonderful guests join us on the show. Specifically, I want to shout out Jesse Thorne, who recently, I don't know if he's in yet or if it's just been announced that he is going to be inducted into the Podcast Hall of Fame. No one tell them about him coming on this show.
Yep.
That would be really bad
Induction
for him.
Canceled.
Yeah, anyway, I thought it would be nice to rank our guests from worst to best.
Perfect. You asked me to do this ahead of time, and I do have a definitive list.
Okay, so obviously we both have the same worst guest.
Yep.
Say it with me, Ian Green. I'm just the only one of them I figured would not be hurt by that. He's, shout out to that guy.
No,
he's, I think, in Mexico right now.
Hey. Wow.
He's in like Guadalajara.
You really do
having
just
a good
have
time.
one type of friend, don't you?
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I do. No, but we have been able to talk to a lot of
Yeah, it's insane. Come on.
insanely cool people. It's so weird.
If it was worth anything for us, because obviously I think we benefit from spending time with each other, but we don't have to make a podcast to do that. The real benefit was just talking to incredibly intelligent, insightful, fascinating people from all...
Some of them funny, even.
Some of them funny as well, yeah.
Some of them, well, the ones who wanted to be funny were funny, and the ones who weren't really that interested in being funny were doing a great job also. I didn't want to say that, like...
The people who weren't funny, they failed somehow. No.
I mean, obviously most of those episodes were disasters, but we're going to move forward.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, it's crazy. Just a bunch of people that we like and admire and love their work and got to talk to them about something really stupid, mostly unrelated to their work. Pretty cool.
Should we start a beef with another podcast?
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. I guess The Daily?
Sure.
The New York Times one? I mean, they are genuinely like doing evil over there.
Yeah.
They had that whole episode about fake sexual assault of Israelis by Hamas or whatever. So yeah. Michael Barbaro, you are barred from coming on the show.
Yeah. Remember when he tweeted that thing about, like, he said there was a no-go zone in a subway tunnel because there was like a homeless guy or somebody that he was too afraid to walk by?
Yeah. Michael Barbaro, you are a loser and you are not as fast or strong as either of us. And we are willing to prove that.
Fly to New York for a foot race any day.
I would fly to New York. Foot race, push-up contest.
Now, I did see
arm wrestling.
Jake Serwin Googling images of Michael Barbaro before he laid down this challenge just to make sure.
I have not. He's like Michael Barbaro, podcaster and strongman.
Yeah.
All right, that's been that. Now it's time for another segment. This is called the former segment, Memorial in Memoriam segment for former segments. We've done a lot of segments on this show.
Sure have.
Most of them have gone the way of the dodo for good reason, but I'd like to just list them now. And not all of these are permanently former. They're not appearing on this week's show, but some of them will come back. Some of them...
Necromancy is real and powerful.
And with that... Where to Watch / Mansana TV.
A staple of the early days.
Clint Eastwood, Clint Eastwoodn't.
Yeah, we planned that one before the podcast even started.
We never figured out how it should actually work. The Pinecone Crime Zone.
Hey, this one is the least close to extinction.
And it's every single episode of the Patreon. We do a Pinecone Crime Zone. That's a promise to you. The Dirty Harry's Quiz.
Of course.
Remember that?
Yeah.
The fake Sight and Sound ballot.
Yeah,
it's only going to be 10 more years.
That was stressful, and it's the one that I think about and regret just constantly.
That's interesting. Taking a Gander.
Yeah, yep,
News update. We do that. We still do that. Kale Seasem. Remember to do that about once.
Forgot about that.
It'll come back.
I know it definitely will.
Go ahead, make my age.
Okay, in my notes, I was saying, what was the name of that forest age quiz? Couldn't recall.
Yeah. A listener of the week did that one time. Jake's very theatrical experience. That's been something.
This one might make a comeback.
Oh, sure.
Creed 4 comes out? Come on.
Oh, yeah. Bring back Jonathan Majors. I haven't been paying a lot of attention. Frank Capricorner. That was a fun one.
This one could also see a revival.
I'm sure. Pretending to have an advertiser.
Yeah.
Did that a few times. That'll come back for sure. TMZ Dead. Remember that? I read my TMZ material.
I kind of hope this one comes back. You're like the career you could have had. We're haunted by.
Yeah. Whereas now, therefore, be it resolved.
Yep.
That one's coming back for sure.
Yep.
And in fact, it's your fault that it hasn't yet.
I can now reveal that you asked me to prepare one, and I prepared an extremely long speech about Shark Tale. Had a bunch of clues and was never called upon to use this.
That'll come back. Okay. That'll come back for sure. And, of course, the Invictus World Cup.
Yep.
The last one.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. So much more death than birth in the last year.
And that's the kind of degrowth that we are calling for on this show. The only way forward.
Yes.
It just occurred to me when I played that sound alert at the end.
Okay.
If I die before you, and I plan to, like before your very eyes, I would like the largest ship you can find to blow its foghorn in my honor.
I can
21
do this.
times.
I probably at the cost of no other funeral arrangements. We're gonna have to just roll you into the sea illegally, but we can get the ship thing.
Well, I mean, it's not that far out to the place where you can legally roll me into the sea. What is it, like 3 miles off the coast or something?
I don't know.
International waters?
Sorry, I forgot to search where can you legally dump a body.
You should search that. Search and put your own zip code in. What do they have down there in? You got some kind of a postal code?
Postal codes, yeah.
Yeah.
68000 if you want to find me.
Yeah, go get them. Go get them, folks.
Yep.
All right, so that was that. Now, let's get into the meat of the episode. Now, we just got to talk about, we got to wrap things up. Learnings.
We sure do.
Pain points. How do we feel about Clint Eastwood now? How are you feeling about him?
Well, I think one of the things that we have to say is that we were aware of and are more aware now than ever of the limitations of trying to understand somebody through their art, especially Clint Eastwood, a man who talks about his art as if somebody else made it oftentimes. So that being said, I think what we have done maybe represents my impossible standard of dream scenario of how I would like to understand every human being on the earth, which is to read several books about their biography, get a sense of like where they come from, see their like the products of their labor, the things that they've poured their time into. I don't know. It's a beautiful way to not judge somebody live, right? Which I think tends to motivate us to have like knee-jerk emotional reactions and instead just pour over a single person's life with kind of low judgment. I won't say no judgment. And I don't know. I think this is nice. Do I think the man has perfect politics or a perfect understanding of the world? Absolutely not. I loved to learn about him, and I love to learn about him with you. We have also never done the thing that is maybe the closest to actually understanding a person, which is, of course, to communicate with them. We've never spoken to the man.
Yeah, no. And we won't.
Probably won't.
No.
What do you think about Clint?
Well, first of all, my relationship to Clint Eastwood is a lot like a bunch of sautéed shallots' relationship to a Dutch oven. Very fond.
Yes. Yep. Really good.
Yeah. I do feel quite warm toward the man. And I do agree with you. We've done a whole lot of paying attention to a very, very specific part of the man's life. Obviously, his life's work, but, what somebody produces artistically for a living is only one shade of the kind of person they are. And as you said, you do get an appreciation for all the things that the man has done that I disapprove of, his treatment of certain romantic partners, Sandra Locke included, his threatening to kill Michael Moore. I'm not crazy about. It's not threats of violence that I'm like categorically against, as any listener to the show will know, but it's that guy in particular just not really worth it. But I think he's one of the most significant American filmmakers, and yet I also feel a little protective of that fact. I kind of want, it seems to, at least at this point, remain a bit of a secret knowledge among...
Oh, you're protective in the sense that you don't want other people to know it, not as in you want to protect its truth.
I do want other people to know it, but I kind of want... I'm not itchy for everyone to agree. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I like being in this cadre of particular freaks who have become so... We've our tolerance for new film surprises has been raised so much that we now need 1517 to feel anything.
To move move the needle. Yep.
To move the needle. Yeah. And, I think we landed on a great subject because there are a few stinkers, but never too many in a row.
No, and I think I hope that people feel that we neither sort of focused too much on his failures nor ignored them. I think that was a tricky balance that we tried to strike, or at least I tried to strike, to say, this is not a fan podcast, as you put in our guest emails, which I thought was very important to say that.
Yes, thank you.
We are not here to just laud somebody that we sort of look at with rose-colored glasses. We are here to look at somebody whose work we admire and find to be unique and fascinating.
Much like Rick Rubin, we had to strike a tricky balance. It's called It's Tricky. Yeah, I think we did a pretty good job of trying to have some critical distance while also acknowledging that human beings are behind all of these things that we're having a critical distance about.
Yeah.
I don't know. One thing I wish we'd done was dig into on-set labor as much as I think, initially planned to.
Yeah, we talked about a fair amount. I don't know that we found great sources.
We talked about it without... Yeah, we didn't really source very well. We've been afraid to talk to anybody who's met Clint Eastwood,
Well, we reached out a few times to give us some credit. And I think part of the problem is that almost all the times we read about it is as like the curiosity pieces that show up in an article or something. And then they sometimes get filtered to other things, to biographies or whatever.
Screen Rant or whatever.
And I don't know that gives us the greatest sense of the real conditions.
Yeah, on this show, you're not going to find the greatest sense. I can tell you that much.
No.
So, going forward, maybe that's a goal of ours on the Patreon, is to talk to more people who have worked on these films. We're going to try to talk to Lee Van Cleef. We're going to try to talk to J. Edgar Hoover. We're going to try to talk to, who's it funny that they're dead? Manus, the orangutan. It's not funny that he's dead, but it's it's not. I guess not tragic at this point. It's been long enough. The tarantula from the film Tarantula. We're gonna try to talk to that guy. Well, I've also, and I know you have too. We've my feelings on film criticism as a practice have changed also having done this first season of the show. It's certainly complicated auteur theory for me. I mean, I know I talked about this most notably when I was going insane on our road trip, but Clint has a distinct working style. I've been moving away from auteur theory ever since my brain finished forming, as we all should. But it's a great place to start from when you're an 18-year-old and you're really excited about Wes Anderson or whatever. But
sort of unique people who leave what we believe to be recognizable mark or consistent set of marks on the pieces of art they touch. But old Kale Seasum, she was one of the first big people to object to this, and I think she was right. And one of her objections was the amount of collaboration required in film art, and Clint's like the extreme of that, basically, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's got this distinct working style, which feels very authorial, obviously, to have one of those, but many of the main aspects of that style can be read as anti-authorial as well. Like he's never been credited as a screenwriter, but he also doesn't give notes. So he like latches onto a script he likes and kind of adapts it like you would a novel or directing a play or something, which seems kind of like a unilateral approach. But then there are also examples of this going sideways, like Invictus, J. Edgar, City Heat, which is he did and did not direct that film, and it feels like no one did. And his minimal direction approach to actors often produces like that very distinct effect, but it's inherently a collaborative effect where, like, in The Mule recently, we talked about how Diane Wiest feels like she's in a different movie from everybody else. He works with the same crew over and over, which obviously produces these consistent results. But then there are very noticeable changes when certain key
Surtees leaves.
crew members get swapped out.
Sure.
Yeah, Jack and Green leaving, I think, is the biggest change. From going from Jack and Green to Tom Stern is very distinct, and we get a new era of Clint, but it's inherently a collaborative process. And as we've been saying about trying to wrap our heads around someone who's revealed a lot more of their life than almost anybody, you can't know a guy.
Nope.
You
can't know their heart.
Can't know somebody.
Just
yeah,
epistemologically impossible feat.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I totally agree that I think my feelings on film criticism have already been constantly evolving. When I was in college, it was like just a treasure trove, seeking out wisdom about things that I knew very little about. So it all became essential knowledge that I didn't totally know how to sort through or distinguish between types of criticism. And I don't know, I think part of it for us is just trying to understand what our goals are if we can call ourselves film critics. And I think to me, the highest aspiration for us was to create a richer experience of art for the listener. At least that's, the thing that I was most excited to do was to help people engage with art, to see it from other angles, from what they might do without that insight. Because I'm not pretending that I'm adding anything totally essential to the art, but we know that there's so much that goes into experiencing art that if you can be one of those influences in a positive way, that's great. And then the one that gets the most attention, which I think it should not, is the idea of guiding people to just works that you think are worth their attention in a world where there's an incredible, overwhelming amount of material to consume. And I think this is good. I'm not denying that none of us will see all the films we want to see. None of us will read all the books we want to read, et cetera, et cetera. Or if you are doing all those things, then you're probably not doing something else that I think you should do. You sort of like the touch grass area of life, doing stuff.
Touch grass, wipe.
Yep. So I don't know. I think that's a nice benefit, but I hope that didn't feel like our priority was just to say like you should check this out or you shouldn't check this out, because I don't know that we're totally qualified to be arbiters of taste, but being able to say, hey, these are some interesting aspects that we identified. If that sounds of interest to you, then maybe this is something that you should check out.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think for me, film podcasts of the type that we were hoping to join the company of, tag along as little brothers toward, often serve as a more elaborate and extended version of finishing a movie and hopping onto IMDb and Wikipedia to learn a little bit more.
Yep.
And I wanted to kind of provide, if nothing else, like a fairly extended further reading list for these movies. And, I have a coworker whose name is Zoomer Josh. I think I've mentioned him on the show, who likes movies and hasn't seen a ton of them because he's 22 years old, and I often furnish him with little syllabi of the things to watch. And I've been thinking about like how do I get him into Clint?
Yeah.
And I just think, well, I don't have to do any more work. Like I have a thing to point to. Hey, if you want to if you want some guys to help you go through the Clint Eastwood filmography with certainly nothing like a be-all, end-all analysis, but a good place to start. I think we did a decent job of that. To the friend of a friend who referred to this show when I described it to him as a watch-along podcast, I will find you and I will destroy you.
I will strike you down.
It was so hurtful to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although, I guess we're in good company there with 1517 star Jenna Fisher.
That's true. That's true.
A watch-along podcaster herself.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. I mean, part of the function that critics have served in my life is like, helping give the cherry-picked version of filmographies to check out. So many times when I look at a director, I will realize, I've engaged with a tiny portion of their work. I think that's particularly true for most people, and Clint Eastwood. You have your Tarantinos, your Tarkovskys, people who have like 9 films, and it's very easy to get a sweeping view of their work.
Charles Lawton.
And then you also have like a Scorsese or a Spielberg, where at least for us, so many of their films came out in our lifetimes.
Sorry, I'm holding up my Lego Jake Sully again. I do that a lot.
Yeah, like a Scorsese or Spielberg, where first you get a bunch of recommendations from before you were alive, and then while you're alive, you just kind of encounter stuff organically over the course of it's like so embedded in popular culture that it's impossible to avoid. And the other thing that I think was tricky for me, that I'll call like an unresolved issue, is when we are trying to talk about whether something succeeded or didn't succeed. You know, we basically do the Doughboys style of how well it did at its own project. Effectively, its apparent goals. Yeah. You know, did it?
That's a Roger Ebert thing, but the Doughboys did invent it. Yeah. Roger Ebert got it from them.
That's right. And I don't think I realized how difficult it is to do that, because you basically have to imagine this like counterfactual, perfect version of a film, and I don't know how you do that without starting to draw on other films, right? To say like, oh, well, I wish it had done this better, or it seemed like it was trying to do this. And the only language you have to talk about that is to say like something else effectively. You know, it's like, you know, that Descartes thing where he said, basically try to imagine a new animal that's not made out of parts of animals you already know or parts of things you already know.
I was thinking of the opening of Robert Altman's The Player as well.
Yes.
You know,
right.
It's like
the logline
it's like
stuff.
Ghost meets Schindler's List or whatever.
Yeah. So even if I think we valiantly attempted to say like, okay, just how did the mule do at being the mule? But I don't know. It's tough not to just mentally seek out examples of the stuff that you wish it had done or it did better than or whatever, right? So I don't know.
That is a new animal combined from two existing animals.
Absolutely right. So anyway, I don't know. I think for our listeners, I hope that we can encourage you to dialogue with the art you're experiencing more. Art objects are complete objects. So even when we're talking about something not succeeding or succeeding, it's kind of nonsense to some extent, because they exist as they are independently. Yeah. They also exist in a social context, which we have tried to address, and they exist as your personal experience of those things, which I don't have that much say over. So I don't know.
Really what it comes down to. I don't know. Yeah. I like the way you put that. I think one of my favorite things about Clint Eastwood is the way that all these films, while they are situated in conversation, or at least in unconscious conversation with existing art objects or existing, you know, trends in film art, they do often feel sui generis to some extent, or actively disinterested in recent film trends because of the peculiarities of their creator, which is exciting. It's exciting to specific, like for example, with The Mule, to talk about it in the context of other drug war films, to which it bears little resemblance. Mm-hmm. And that's also been quite rewarding throughout this process, is to kind of, you know, in the week prior to a record, think about what are the other movies in this zone from this time. So, you know, watching Ted Demi's Blow in preparation for our episode on The Mule didn't provide me with a ton of things to say, but did enhance my appreciation for The Mule all the more.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes we both watched a film and it never came up in the episode, but I think it was just in our hearts during the record.
To speak to Ted Demi's Blow for 0.2 seconds, we used to just grind out Goodfellas ripoffs in this country.
We sure did.
I think we've lost something when we stopped doing that.
Yeah.
There's just who doesn't like a stylish rise and fall story? David O. Russell, do not listen to this. Not talking to you. You must never listen to this. You must put it away.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's well said by you, I think.
Thank you, man.
Any thoughts on political art after Pod Casty Season 1?
Political art, yeah, we set that as a very intentional goal, and I think sometimes received more focus. Often that was not our fault. I think there are also just some Clint films that don't invite direct political readings. But I will say that Jordan, on our episode with Ray and Jordan, the Hereafter episode, Jordan so generously called some of our readings materialist readings.
He did.
And I was like, oh, is he like lying? Because for a brief second, I remembered doing materialist readings of text and stuff in college. And there was so much more attention that I paid to like doing like you're saying, like more exhaustive research on contemporary cultural portrayals of stuff at material conditions that were influencing things. And I'm not saying we didn't do that, but I think we did that as just kind of part of our meandering larger investigations, not with such a targeted attempt to like come up with a specific understanding of something. I don't know that we ever answered a real question of what were the material conditions, or what about this era made this film, basically.
Well, I don't think that we didn't do that, or at least didn't open up avenues for further research.
I'm saying, yeah, I guess that's why it felt too nice on Jordan's part, is that I think we suggested this. We played around in this realm, but I don't know that we just were fully committed to trying to be comprehensive, like you're saying, about that type of analysis.
A little realm play. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm most excited by, what I've learned from this show is that I'm most excited by political art that doesn't necessarily know it's political.
Sure. Yeah.
And I like to do a little digging. Rather than preparing for a debate competition, like I don't want to do a S. Craig Zoller podcast or whatever, where I get ready blow by blow to talk about why I think that guy's a schmuck. And I do. And anyone is welcome to email me about that. That my email is ianryan@gmail.com.
Yeah, I don't know that we even want to do like a is it Gavras?
Casablanca.
What is his last name?
Costa Gavras, right?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I don't think either of us wanted to do this about self-consciously social realist art or anything bordering on like a propaganda film, even by people that we like. To be clear, I think Z is an incredible movie.
Yes.
I just think that there's less, the movie is so intentionally saying so much that I don't think I have to do as much work to sort of like leave it to its devices. And what am I going to say that I agree this is good? So yeah, I think we were both aiming for it's Keats, right? Beauty is truth, truth, beauty style of like, well, if this film is talking about something that is real in the world, then it will intentionally or not lead us to political discussions, because just by merit of talking about things that do exist and forcing us to encounter them in a unique way, then we say, hey, okay, well, what does this mean for us as people? And then sort of secondarily, what does that mean for us as like political operators or people in a larger social context? Does that make sense?
Pronounced Yates, by the way. It does make sense. I think this has actually been quite helpful to me as I watch all movies in establishing the sort of the twin perspectives from which to watch them. One as an entertainment experience or an artistic experience, one as a political experience. Sometimes one of those overwhelms the other.
Yeah.
Usually the political experience will overwhelm the artistic experience if I find something like, for example, there's a lot of cool shit in Riot and Cell Block 99 or whatever. There's like, yes. But I'm too mad at the fucking guy for being a little edgelord to really enjoy that. And so this has been a great exercise in feeding both wolves, as it were.
It's a two wolf exercise.
Yes. Yeah. But I think, much of the American project or whatever is fraught with contradictions, like fixations on liberty and security at the same time, valuing personal responsibility and individual opportunity while shackled to these deeply entrenched beliefs about entire groups of people. It's a country born in and of violence that also positions itself as this moral and ethical city on the hill. And so I think successful or at least fruitful political art about America is going to be inherently contradictory and conflicted, and it made sense that all our episodes were so long. We had a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice way to put it. We were trying to do good dialectics, not baby brain thesis, antithesis, synthesis, oversimplified stuff. Just saying that there were often two or more poles that were distinct and contradictory and fundamentally informing each other, pushing on each other, and that it's sort of impossible to talk about one without the other. I think so. Yeah, I think we probably would have found it, or I would have found it difficult to do a pure entertainment or pure political art, or even like pure, I think you're saying like art object, sort of post-structuralist investigation of the thing and its symbols and what it speaks to thematically without engaging with historical context stuff, and vice versa. I don't know that I'm capable of that or interested in it.
Right. Yeah, hard to do either a, hey, remember this movie, isn't it cool or doesn't it suck?
Yeah.
Podcast, or a, every Hollywood product is just a apology for imperialism, or is some watered down liberal light criticism of the American empire that ultimately
Reformist.
serves. Yeah. We got to do a little bit of both. We're a little bit of both kind of guys. This is,
sure are.
They call it the Venus butterfly technique.
Sorry?
That's a joke for the freaks and perverts on the
I think you
listening to the show. Something I learned about from Talk Sex with Dr. Sue Johansson late at night on cable once.
Did we talk about it on an episode? Now that you're
I don't know, but I'll
it.
tell you about it off air, because to describe it is beyond what is comfortable for me to say on the microphone.
Wow, we found it, huh, guys? This is maybe a big moment for us as well.
Certain alphabetically described spots
Gotcha. Yep.
are involved. Should we move on to now? One of the segments that I think we did at least once that I didn't include in the former segment memorial in memoriam segment for former segments was when I would pretend to. We had listener mail, and then I would read you like something the BTK killer sent to the police.
Yes,
but we actually have some listener and guest mail, former guest mail, former future guest.
This is what a home run! This question
from our.
It's really it's a universe of questions.
It's a nexus.
Yeah.
It's a quexus from our friend Comrade Yui. What's up, Yui? How you doing?
Hey, Yui.
This was an email that we received, and I checked with them, and they enthusiastically consented to my reading it on the show. Hey, guys. That's us. Something I would like to see discussed on the show. After he's gone and his career is finished, how do you think Clint Eastwood's legacy will be seen by people trying to retroactively account for his work? Will he be seen mostly as a director of and actor in iconic westerns? Will he be thought of as a tough guy auteur a la Walsh, Hawks, Siegel, etc.? Will he be considered as an outdated relic of pre-corporatized pre-IP Hollywood? Will he be seen as a master, an outsider, an insider? Will he even be thought of at all? I ask because some famous directors grew more in stature after their passing. We still watch John Ford movies, we still watch Frank Capra, while other directors become cult figures. Clint has won so many awards and made tons of iconic films, but he still feels like someone who was never quite played by the rules of the post-70s studio system or what was popular. He never made a sci-fi film. He was never in a big explosive blockbuster. His most popular films still feel rooted in a basic sense of realism that originated in 1930s Warner Productions. He never became an essential part of geek culture in the way that Harrison Ford did. He never controlled his career with the tight fist that Tom Cruise has. He's a legend, but after he's gone, eventually people who have no childhood or adulthood relation to seeing his films in the theater will look at his sizable filmography. We take him for granted in some ways, but he might become a slight curio for future film fans, or he'll be seen as an important precursor and inspiration to new directors. And I'm wondering how you think he'll ultimately be received within the annals of film history. Thanks for reading. I hope you both have an excellent holiday. Thank you, Yui. We did. I had a better one than Ian because I didn't get COVID.
Yeah, that's right. Listeners, why aren't you sending in questions like this? We would basically have to do no work if you were just asking incredible questions like these.
Yeah, why don't you do all the work for us?
Yeah,
like Comrade
wrong
Yui.
with you?
So there's a lot to go on here.
Yeah.
I want to leave some of that as just pure Yui analysis, but I think, as I mentioned earlier, I do feel a little protective of this arcane knowledge that we have that, hey, this guy's actually like really fucking interesting.
I disagree with this. I want to break open the vault.
Okay. You're like, you're the Furiosa
yes.
at the end of Mad Max Fury Road, Furiosa's Road, and you're letting all the water out.
Yes.
You're just pouring all the water on the fucking ground, I guess, huh?
Well, basically, yeah, because I know that some of it will be wasted. When we share this, the keepers of arcane knowledge, their argument is always, well, this will be abused, not appreciated. Yeah, that's right. So
I guess what I'm, to clarify or further specify, I'm all for opening the floodgates, but I think what's coming out is not water, it is a bitter aperitif, and I'm just like not that. I'm not bothered if it doesn't become the most popular beverage of all time.
No, I think I liked that part a lot. My objection is not to the idea that some people will just not take to this and that's acceptable. But I don't know, do we have to be scared of that potential outcome? I would rather get more people on the weird Sicilian aperitif than just try to avoid offending sensibilities or avoid people rejecting this
Campari.
idea.
That's what we're talking about. It's fucking gross, dude. It's so bad.
Yeah.
You know, so many of the people we've spoken to on the show would invoke their own fathers as the first time that they watched Clint Eastwood movies, right?
This
so many.
was one of the first things I thought of when reading you these questions.
And I know that obviously, like, certainly the guests that we've had on the show who have children are going to show Clint Eastwood movies to their children. But there's each successive generation is going to have fewer sort of built-in Clint heads.
Doing a big nod.
And, the man's visage is up there with Mickey Mouse or whatever as just a face that so many people have seen. But I wonder also, like, Mickey Mouse has very little meaning to him now. I don't know how many children who could identify Mickey Mouse have seen, the cartoon where he like fights a little tornado. He's trying to clean up the leaves in his backyard, and there's like a spunky little stinker of a tornado who's like fucking up his leaf pile. It's a great cartoon. But, you can be familiar with the symbol without having any referent to attach it to. And I wonder if Clint will become the same way. Obviously, he'll be beloved by film freaks, but I don't know to what extent, the Dollars trilogy or even Unforgiven as and $1 Million Baby as something that 18-year-olds watch because they want to watch every movie that won Best Picture. I don't know how much those are those gonna be like a Departed that opens up this whole world of inquiry, or are those gonna be more like Cimarron and The Greatest Show on Earth, where they're just something you watch
kind of
to
a dead
get
end
to the next one. Yeah.
I put on my little snorkel and I waded into the muck, and bad news, my head went too low and the muck got in my snorkel. I went on Reddit to sort of see what people were saying about Clint Eastwood. And I was just curious because my first thought was basically the same one you had, which is that so much of our generation is informed by the previous generation, which is Clint Eastwood, cowboy star. I like this guy, kind of a cool badass, and being shown the Dollars trilogy and Dirty Harry. And I think I look forward to the day actually when that influence has died out and I cast a hex on people who describe him this way in the annals of film history. Do not color new generation's perspective with your extremely single-minded depiction of this man. But in the muck, I gotta tell you, disappointing as ever, there was just two characterizations. One, this guy is a shitty old racist, something about the chair speech, something about, they basically described him as like an Obama birth truther type of guy that I don't think he is at all.
No, I don't think he ever mentioned that.
The other side is old guys who will post on the internet and say, like, I remember watching the Dollars trilogy in theaters, and this man is like, part of who I am. And I actually think both these people should go. Both these groups of people be gone. I think
they will diminish and go into the West and remain Galadriel.
Exactly. And look, I think you're right to say that there is a non-film people, and I'm not using this in the kind of condescending like civilians. I just mean people who don't obsess over film and have the time to watch complete filmographies.
People who watch a movie like maybe a couple times a month for fun.
They're busy.
And they're drinking beer.
And they're doing other good stuff.
And you and I are film people in the sense of a scum or a thin slime.
That's right. Yeah. We're patina people. I think what I wish for, to answer one of Yui's other excellent questions, is that I hope that he will be remembered as a Studia era director, but of Eastwood Pictures, of his own private studio that existed only in his mind. And what I mean by this is that he approaches everything with this workman attitude of, my job is to help stories see the light of day. It's not always my story exactly, like we've talked about. He doesn't always seem to engage with every aspect of it, but obviously he's aware enough of it to want to tell the story, to want to midwife the story. And I think that suggests that he is a guy who believes that the best route to creating the most quality in the world is through quantity, not through hyper-selectivity. And I think that's cool. I think that's one of the reasons it's so worthwhile to dive into his stuff. And I hope that this spirit is conveyed to people somehow, not just what I fear. My worst case scenario is Clint Eastwood was a star who became a director of popular films or some type of massive blanket characterization that I don't think reflects his output.
I hope you're right. I don't think there's much of a danger of Clint becoming seen as a Spielberg or even a Michael Bay or something like that. I mean, he's not a vulgar auteur, because the vulgarity, while it is there, while Clyde does shit in the cop car, these films are often challenging and a little bit restrained or distant to be called vulgar, right? Mm-hmm. So, I hope, let me kind of backtrack to what I said before about the aperitif thing.
Do it.
I hope Clint remains sort of upper level coursework for anybody who wants to get there. That's really, I think I was talking about tolerance metaphors before, but it's really like, I want to think now in terms of like, when you were in elementary school, did they have was there any kind of like numbered like reading proficiency scale for different like chapter books or something that were in the classroom? I remember there was some kind of...
Well, I teach children now, and I am aware of these types of proficiencies. I don't think we had something like this
for me. But like, Clint's always there if you want to reach for the stars, if you burn your way through Spielberg and Kubrick and Wes Anderson and Tarantino and all the main boys, and you want a little something challenging, something that might confuse you, something that you might have to think about a little longer. I hope that Clint stands as a next step for the artistically inclined cineast. That's what I hope.
I like this. I hadn't thought about it this way. You're right that even though he's kind of a low threshold director in the sense that his films, he makes an American Sniper or something that millions of people watch. I think one of the things we found is that even extremely film literate critics who watched his movies sometimes did not seem to be engaging with them as film art. So just trying to talk about like, maybe you should work your way through these other people and work your way through extremely understated people in particular, get a sense of what can be communicated in subtext or in silence or in editing choices. Or
Scorsese made that one. Have it on the shelf here.
Right. Yeah. And then I like this. All right. I agree with this, where I think probably you will get more out of Clint if you are finding him after a long journey.
Yeah. Weary traveler.
Yeah.
Come in, sup yourself of my humble bread. I don't know. I guess I'm like an RPG guy. I'm an NPC, as all the Cybertruck heads out there already thought of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thanks, Yui. That was a beautiful question. I hope we did you proud.
Yui
will return, much like James Bond or the waters that once covered the land. Yui will return. So now we set ourselves a very stupid challenge that I think is illustrative in its stupidity.
Yep. Make ourselves mad, make everybody mad.
Yep. To try to, for a Zoomer Josh type figure, try to pick 5 films that illustrate Clint Eastwood. Yep. 5 films, Clint in 5 films. The 5 movies you meet in heaven that tell you who Clint is. And so much of Clint's filmography involves reacting to at least 2 tendencies from earlier in his career that it's really Clint in 3 films, because you have to include Dirty Harry and at least a Western of a pre-Unforgiven Western. And then you have to put Unforgiven in there. So it's it's really Clint in 2
I'll tell you, I don't have Unforgiven on my list. So for this reason that you're describing.
Very, very brave. Well, I'll go first with mine. That's the more conventional, I think, and then we'll see how you did.
Okay.
And by the way, these are not my favorite Clint films. We didn't want to do that.
I wanted to say the same thing. Not favorite, not even some attempted objective best. This is just like representational.
So I have Dirty Harry.
Okay.
The Outlaw Josie Wales. Unforgiven. Bridges of Madison County. And the 1517 to Paris.
Oh.
And I'm trying to capture the full scope of the man's artistic interest. Trying to capture, obviously, the initial association with violent badassery. And then the complication of that. The move toward tenderness, the multifaceted star, and then also his late period mastery of the form in the 1517 to Paris.
You and I have 2. This is why it's difficult sometimes to have a conversation with my beloved friend Jake, because what I was about to say is you and I have 2 of the same holes in our.
That's true, and it's and let me tell you, buddy, I got some,
and it's not
I got some more
inclusively true.
surprises for you. Yeah.
Neither of us were able to capture, I think, either blockbuster Clint, sort of like TNT Clint, I should say, or like silly comedy Clint. Neither of us have like Every Witch or anything approaching that type of stuff.
Yeah, not there. We also don't have war film Clint.
You're wrong.
We don't
I do have that.
Oh,
okay.
Well,
let me
go ahead.
get my list.
Read your list before I say anything.
Yeah, I have High Plains Drifter for the same reasons you're talking about. I have Sudden Impact.
I thought about that as well.
I think these are like our two first choices are interchangeable, effectively.
Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, you mean?
Yeah.
Hey, come on.
Yeah.
A little bit of wordplay.
Then I have Bridges, and then I have Letters from Iwo Jima.
Nice. Okay.
And then I have 1517 to Paris also. I was challenged by the fact that there's no Escape from Alcatraz, no Tightrope, no Unforgiven for me, no Richard Jewell. So many. This is why I'm emphasizing that these are not our favorites. Those are some of my Clint favorites that I cannot include because No Perfect World.
Yeah, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil is for me an important text in terms of, hey, Clint's not the guy you think he is.
It sounds like we had pretty much the same goal, which was to give people like 5 starting points to consider other films in his filmography. And I think we both did a good job, but it was stressful. It
was stressful for me as well. I have a couple of films that surprised me. Did you remember this prompt?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I have some films.
So here are my 5 films that surprised me, and they're kind of the ones that I wish I could have included in the first list, but also first watches.
Yep.
So I've got Tightrope, White Hunter, Black Heart, A Perfect World, which I'd never even heard of prior to the
I don't
show.
think I had either.
Flags of Our Fathers.
Okay.
And Changeling.
Ooh.
I think I was a lot hotter on Flags of Our Fathers than you were.
You were.
I think I was particularly exuberant. But those were the ones that we were talking about, upper level coursework or whatever. Once somebody gets through those first 5, I'd be like, all right, here's the real good stuff.
Yes. Yeah. I think. Yeah, I don't know what to say except probably all of your picks and some of my picks as well are the direct responses to some of the more popular Clint imagination aspects. And I think that's one of the things. That's why I got to say, Yui mentioned Raoul Walsh, and I was thinking, okay, I think I've only seen 2 Walsh pictures. What else did this dude make? Do I have a good sense of his body of work?
Yeah.
The man made like 60 films or something. So, I mean, obviously it's an early era, but it was sort of a realization of how limited your information sometimes is, and you still feel like you have a read on somebody. So I will say my surprises, I had White Hunter, Black Heart. I had Perfect World. I had Play Misty for me. Because, I don't know, it's a mix of elements we'll see again, but it's kind of singular to me.
It is, yeah.
And it was a great start to the pod because it was so unrelated to most of what I believed about Clint Eastwood. I had 1517 to Paris, although it's on both my lists. It's just such a surprise that, come on, insane. You just can't understand this film, basically, unless you're really doing the work.
You have to watch it as like the 53rd Clint movie or whatever that you've seen.
Yeah. I'm also going to say Bronco Billy was not because I didn't expect it to be good, but I loved it so much and it's so playful. It was one of those early films that you talked about him playing with his own image. And I really was touched by this ability to engage with it, but not in like parody or irony or.
There's honestly, I mean, I could replace Unforgiven with Bronco Billy on my 5 films, and maybe I should, but it's set in stone. I mailed it to the U.S. Patent Office, and there's no going back.
Yeah,
that was a fun exercise.
Yeah, cool.
No, it wasn't. I don't know. I don't know.
Triumph. What if we had a Triumph segment?
Like the Insult Comic Dog? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Didn't he do a lot of not?
Yeah, and For Me to Poop On as well. That was his big thing. So what's next? What is the show from here? This is the burning question that everyone is...
How are we going to take it to the next level, Clint style?
Take it to the limit one more time. No, several times. I'm being informed that Curly would like to come into the room where I'm recording this podcast. So I want everyone to know Curly
Big round of applause for Curly. Curly Sue.
Big round of... Don't call her Curly Sue. Her name is Curly Girl.
Okay.
Big round of applause. Talk into the microphone, Curly.
Characteristically shy.
Just put a piece of food like 6 inches from her face and she'll start. Okay. So, a lot of thought has gone into where we go next. A lot of folks have been asking us what's after Clint Eastwood. Frankly, not enough people listen to the show that there are that many left who we haven't told privately, I would imagine.
True.
But for those of you who are listening to this and wondering, there's a couple ways we could go. Is the show about movie stars who become directors?
Yeah.
Are we covering Ben Affleck or Bradley Cooper or Warren Beatty?
Mhm.
And
Jerry Lewis.
the answer to that is not at the moment, no.
Indecisive.
Is the show about cinema's chroniclers of masculinity? I mean, I think it will be going forward.
I don't think it has
know.
to be exclusively.
But that's, I think, a thread that'll probably emerge and persist.
Love when a thread
Is it
persists.
about what is podcasting, but a thread persisting? That's what Wander Vision taught us. Is the show about conservative or crypto-conservative filmmakers? Maybe. I think, for me, what's been exciting about this and what I would like to continue with is like thorny filmmakers. Yep. Stuff where I go in with an existing opinion that I know is not fully formed and I want to learn more.
Here's the problem. Jake has done the impossible. He came up with this suggestion. It's so good that unfortunately I am increasingly afraid that we will not be able to repeat how good these choices are. It's exactly what you're talking about. It's this person, and I think we're going to talk about our understandings of them, but this person is prolific. This person is varied in their thematic and content interests, genre interest. This person is distinct from Clint Eastwood, I want to say. I don't want to say that he has done it again by finding another Clint Eastwood. No, this person is so opposed to Clint Eastwood in their approach to art, in their approach to like public relations, I'll say. I don't know, man. I just want to give it up to you and say Thanks, nobody can be mad if we can't find anybody as good as as good of a follow-up as this.
Well, and as Ian pointed out in our little show notes here, he says, how are we going to evolve Clint style? And I think we are entering our Clint's 80s.
Ooh, I hope so.
The part of Clint's filmography that no one will say is their favorite. No, we are talking about, for our next guy, Paul Schrader is the next guy. We're doing Paul Schrader.
That's and right, not Paul Schrader.
Ignore the part where somebody said like royalty free or whatever the fuck they said.
I couldn't ignore it. The second time it happened really got me. Unfortunately, very distracted.
We're talking about the films of Paul Schrader, writer-director Paul Schrader.
Yes, not an actor. Not
an actor, but also not exclusively a director. I think part of, to me, what will make this show distinct from Blank Check and assorted filmography podcasts, of which we are fond and to which we are eternally indebted, is that we want to cover figures who are not exclusively filmmakers or exclusively actors, sort of multidisciplinarians.
Yeah, I think it really adds something to explore. How are they making artistic output in a different way, right? Or maybe we do a Lynch and look at his paintings.
Exactly. Or his acting. By the way, that's Ian's go-to search on a pornography website. Multidisciplinarians.
Yeah, I like bunch of educated, talented people.
No, you're a bunch of different people who are saying you're a bad boy, you pooped in your diaper. Where are we on Paul Schrader? Where are we all on all Pauly?
Where are we on Pauly? Well, I'll just say straight up, some of my favorite films have this man's fingerprints on them, and also some deeply strange films. One of which I watched for this podcast, Cat People. I had not seen Cat People.
I had not either, and I also watched it for this podcast, and it's very strange. I'm excited to talk about it. I think we might have Curly on for our guest.
Great. We got a lot of guests to choose from. I don't know, man. I think you picked somebody who is obviously their politics are extremely polemic more than anything. It seems like where he is radical. Oftentimes he is distinctly Calvinist,
which I have to figure out what the fuck that is.
Cool. Well, as a man who grew up in the Presbyterian Church, it's not a long walk for me.
Mr. Presbo.
Yeah. portraitist of the human spirit, really focused on details, but he also hates woke. He posts like nobody else. Pretty distinct posting style.
Won't stop posting.
Yeah, he's talked extensively about his theories of art, which all these things are so different from Clint Eastwood.
Yes, but he's also kind of a mirror of Clint, where like he writes his own scripts and they are produced by others as much, well, not as much as they're produced by him, but certainly like, you know, he's very frequently directed by others. He discusses his work to a fault, as you've said. Yep. He wrote a book. Yes. He started as a film critic and wrote a book when he was 24.
Kakia style.
He's very quick to call himself an artist. He really wants to be aligned with a lot of European filmmakers more than he cares to be aligned with the American sort of formalists.
Mm-hmm.
Pauline Kael.
Yes.
Instead of hating him, literally encouraged him to make films.
Made this man.
Yeah, she pushed him on the bike until he was pedaling. He, rather than having like a pretty sweet deal with Warner Brothers for his entire career, he struggled and struggles to get things produced, including at one point being so frustrated with the studio taking a film away from him and editing it themselves that he released his edit via BitTorrent.
Yep.
And
got some BitTorrent representation on there. That's important
exactly.
for us.
We're going to have Kim.com on the podcast. He's the mega
Yeah, that's right. Mega uploads.
And instead of inspiring a Ronald Reagan speech, he, of course, inspired a Ronald Reagan assassination attempt. Oh, man,
this didn't occur to me. This is so good. So, I was thinking of that film. You texted me last night saying you were worried about a big rain coming to affect the podcast, and I thought that was appropriate.
You're right. Yeah, we're supposed to get a torrential, new word discovered. Torrential storm. Alert. And I mean, our guest John Semley talked on our 1517 to Paris episode about the sort of two paths laid before a school shooter type. There's of course school shooting and cop. Which way, Western man, Dirty Harry or Travis Bickle? You know, and I think we're gonna learn a lot. We're gonna again irresponsibly diagnosed with autism from afar. And, you know, there's something that Schrader said at the Venice Film Festival, I think before the premiere of Master Gardener, where he said, and he had, I think, recently had a health scare, like a heart attack or something. And he said, I used to be an artist who never wanted to leave this world without saying, fuck you. And now I'm an artist who never wants to leave this world without saying, I love you. And I want to figure out where that change happens. Mm-hmm. And I want to figure out if he was always one of those guys or always the other of those guys or always both of those guys. And I also want to find out, can we possibly do all the reading that we probably should to cover this man?
Private challenge for us. Yeah. He is, I mean, his stuff is not at once, but variously like Sturm und Drang style, intense emotion. And also, I don't know if I can think of somebody who has done a better job of showing like Protestant consideration for how sometimes sublimation and repression are like the strongest manifestations of intense feeling. And I think both of those are extremes that Clint was not interested in. So again, they're both concerned with like finding people where they are, but I don't know that there's that much overlap in terms of like where they look for them or what they look for.
This is a man who was obsessed with transmitting the presence of God through art. And Clint Eastwood is a guy primarily concerned with getting out by 4. I mean, that's unfair, but like, this is a man who, we're going from a man who kind of kept making movies and figured on average, they would be worth watching, and going to a man who wrote an entire book about locating the divine in a lingering shot of an empty doorway.
Yes.
And that's
exciting. Maybe this is unfair. Well, I'll have to wait and see. But it seems like Paul is often saying that this way is the best way or the true way, or wanting to find the true way. And Clint is a man who was just often happy making movies. He's
a movie tradesman, as he called himself in the chair speech.
Mm-hmm.
Schrader called himself an artist.
Yep.
And also, I want to know if we can track the work of an auteur writer, which is like literally an author.
Yes.
I'm interested in that. And, you know, I relate to the man as another sort of human Donald Duck style, explosive,
that's a good way to put it.
Frustrated, overeducated.
Excited to find this man's opinion on things that there's just no reason he should have weighed in on. And I just will not believe that he will have weighed in on them.
And but as Ian said, someday soon a rain will come and wash the streets clean.
Yep.
We're gonna take a break. We're gonna take a 2-week break to get our lives back in order. It'll only take 2 weeks.
They only got 31 to 32 years, but these 2 weeks are going to do it for us.
I think
they're going to cinch it.
It'll be fine.
No, I think it's going to be a good palate cleanser, so people don't just feel like it's more of these guys talking, and I think we can maybe reset ourselves and get into the Paul space.
Gonna enter the Schraderverse. Yeah. I like the Paul space better. I'm tired of the verse. I don't want to talk about fucking King Plantation, Phil Lord anymore.
Okay.
The Paul space, which kind of rhymes with crawl space, which I like, and that is that seems like where he would be comfortable. I don't know if you never committed to this. You didn't respond to this at all, but I will be keeping a journal.
Oh, yeah, I
already do? Okay.
These are my last 2 years' journals.
Hell yeah. And of course, these are white boy nice journals. I was going to go to CVS and get the kind of journal Travis Bickle would buy for. I believe he writes on like loose paper, but
that would be cool. Yeah.
I will be wrapping my room in bed sheets a la the card counter, and I will be talking about a weight that a man accrues, and I certainly have over the past year of doing this show. Hey, come on. So yeah, we will join you again.
Whet your appetites, folks. Go look at some of your old Schrader favorites. Take a gander at his filmography.
Transcendental style in film.
Yeah. Or don't, because we're going to be talking about a lot of it, and maybe it's going to feel repetitive for you.
Yeah. The Patreon will continue apace.
Yes. Eastwood focused.
Please, let's come up with some more ideas for ways people can spread the word about the show while we take the 2 weeks off. I have a good one. Do like a live tech support and say you're having trouble downloading this podcast that you really want to hear. And so grassroots organizing.
This is good because this is like infinite, basically. I mean, there's more people to talk to than time.
Yeah, say you get one of those things where you get somebody to remotely access your computer and help you download Pod Casty For Me, and then you can just sort of tell them, the hosts have a lot of great analysis, but they're also really funny and they sound handsome. And I've been trying to download it. And while you're here, do you want to just download it for yourself? You could say to the tech support guy.
They go into your pictures folder and it's lots of pictures of like
us.
The waveform as you look. No, I think it's just like pictures
screenshots
of like iTunes open to the page. Yeah.
It's called Apple Podcasts. You should know these things.
No, thank you.
Why don't you try to take this seriously?
No, thank you.
Oh, okay. Any other ideas for spreading the word about the show?
We can do that thing where, like in Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, where what's the name of their fake Echo and the Bunnymen people that they want to see? Have you seen this film?
Yeah, it's called like, Scotty's Puppy or something. It's some shit like that. It's a film that has the third act of that film has like climactic finger blasting.
That's right.
Do you remember that in the Electric Ladyland Studios?
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Band is called Where's Fluffy?
Where's Fluffy? Okay, great. Yeah, so do one of these things. Talk to a bunch of high schoolers. Say there's a secret show. You can only find it if somebody tells you where it is, and you sort of make it forbidden knowledge. Now I guess I am saying make this podcast forbidden knowledge.
And if anybody listening to this is a Twitch streamer, maybe do like a live reaction to a full episode of the podcast where you're just sitting and listening to. Well, yeah, but they could. They could be in a hot tub.
They would have to be playing two video games simultaneously.
Subway Surfers,
to make this
you're in a hot tub, and Pod Casty For Me is playing, and also Nightcore, which is just sped up. Do you know about this?
I don't know about this.
Well, it's not worth talking about. We should finish the.
All right, I'm excited.
Me too. I'm excited. I'm getting all Twitter shraded. It's like a Twitter pated joke, but Twitter now means something else. Well, it's not called that anymore. It's called X, the everything website. So get your journals.
Yep.
Get your.
Some days only get like 3 hours of sleep. I feel like that's kind of
that's huge.
The vibe of a lot of these
films.
Huge. Yeah.
Get master your garden.
Yep.
And see if you can get Lindsay Lohan's phone number for us.
Of course. Yes. Lots of Lohan talk coming up.
LOL. Lots of Lohan. And we will see you in March 8th. is when we're coming back. Yes.
Yes.
With the Yakuza. Sidney Pollack's The Yakuza, which is the first.
We should talk about Sidney Pollack again.
Yeah, the guy you thought was an actor. Stupid. Fucking. Remember when you thought Sidney Pollack was a famous actor before he became a director?
I mean, I don't know that it's...
But you thought he started as a movie star.
All right. I kind of said that.
Use magic to kill death.
So that has been Pod Casty For Me Season 1. We'll be back with new music, new artwork.
Yeah.
Same old disappointing guys.
Yeah, that's a promise.
Any parting words, Ian?
Bye.